What's up, everybody? My name is Ron Amos, and welcome back to Less Pressure Podcast. Woo! How are we today? How are we doing? I'm very excited for this episode because today on Less Pressure, we have our first ever episode where we're joined by a guest. Very excited to have this person. Very close person in my life. Also a creative, an artist, and just a very insightful person. So, everybody, please put your hands together for my cousin, Lyndal.
Ooh, go Lyndal. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'll just introduce myself. So
Yeah, go ahead.
The formalities out the way.
Give them a little bit of the rundown of who you are, what you do, your spiel.
Okay, so my name is Lyndal Johnson. I am Ron's first cousin. So we do not use cousin loosely. We're actually blood relatives.
Actual cousins.
Exactly.
We do look alike.
We do look alike. People do
we're
consider
like
us
brothers, but no,
brothers.
just cousins.
Yeah. My name is Lyndal Johnson. I'm 24 years old. As Ron had stated, I am a creative, working on the whole personal, creative things. I write. I will produce, but I currently work in television. As I've
television.
done.
I work in television. I dibble dabble.
It's hard to explain that. I am grateful to be able to say that, but for me, it's still I work in television.
Yeah, and I think that's something that in our family, I think that everybody is, because we do have a lot of creative people in our family, but I feel like everybody's very humble with what they do. There's not a lot of people that's just oh yeah, I do this, I do that.
Yeah, and it's not the typical 9 to 5 job. So for some, when I introduce my job career path, it's always what show? And it's I'm excited. I've worked on Empire and Power and everything, but it's very much so I'm still figuring it out. So I think it's hard for me to explain it. But yeah, I've PA'd, I've worked in accounting, not really much set work. I have gone back and forth between set work and office production work, but I'm pretty much versed in office production. I've producer's assistant, so that's been lovely. My goals, I can see them, but I'm just letting kind of God steer me in that way. And yeah, I am very proud of my cousin.
Wow.
My cousin Ron, as a person, as he stated, I do encourage. I do like to encourage creatives, not just you, but all creatives in whatever regard, because I remember the imaginations, the dreams of, I really love this show. I wish I could write a show like this.
Right.
I see these stories play out in my head. I see them in my dreams. I talk to people about it. I love putting people on the shows, but I even if whatever thing I dabbled in.
Not dilly dally.
It just always seemed very far away or very far removed, especially because it was be a doctor. It was use your intellect to be in the workforce and just to make ends meet. Not to say that you can't do that as a creative, but I think especially as just how I grew up and just in the circles that I've navigated, it was kind of just you have to make a living first, dream second. And no, that's like no shade to anybody.
Nah, that's shade. Heavy.
That's,
Nah,
it was just literally that. And so whenever I see like a you or our cousin Terrell, which we call Tink, and just like your brothers, and just anybody like between like Rochelle and her candles and everything. Like we have a lot of family members who create and are very creative in their own right and are very skilled in their own right. So with me, I think and I feel like I'm dragging with this, but I just really just love encouraging others. I think it goes a long way because I know what encouragement does for me. Granted, I do push away, and that's going to go into the topic. But yeah, I think a little, you're doing a good job. Keep going.
It does. It really does.
And I know as creatives in creativity is so broad and it's so expansive.
Anybody can be a creative. Realistically, everybody is a creative because if you create anything, if you make anything, like that's considered creative.
Yes.
And it's just how you look at the situation. Because there's a lot of like people that want to replace the word creative with the word content creator, you know, or want to like, you know, oh, I create content, so like I'm not. It's not real art, but no, like you're making something. You're making videos. You have an idea. You have visions. You know, so like that. So
you're in the process of creation.
Yeah, we're all. I think that everybody's creative, but some people accept that title more than others do.
Creativity just spans different fields.
Yeah.
So like doctors are creatives, psychologists are creatives, like all different. It just is so broad and expansive that we just have to encourage people.
Facts.
Yet, but I know we're pretty much talking that specifically towards like the arts and miscellaneous. That which is kind of hard and sometimes can have like a little gateway to kind of break that we have to kind of go over. Not to say that it doesn't happen in other fields, but it is kind of when you work in like niche fields, it's kind of hard to break through. Yeah. So you need that extra encouragement for those to keep going.
Facts.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was talking about with the insight. This man is very, very insightful.
I just ramble.
You're gonna get a lot of that over the rest of this episode. But yeah, so that's a little bit about you. Now, what we're going to talk about on today's episode, you already know the topic, but I'm going to say this for the audience. But today's episode is focused on self-sabotage and how that, you know, affects our lives or, you know, just the impact that it can take on a person. Me personally, I am guilty of self-sabotage when it comes to literally every single aspect of my life. And I just want to get into a little bit. So, just in general, like off the top of your head, what comes to mind to you when you think about self-sabotage? Could be anything. Like,
do you want me to go with the immediate thought?
Yeah, I want the immediate thought. Like, all right, so I say self-sabotage.
Because mine is kind of dark.
no, whatever it is. Like, whatever it is for you.
I think. Okay. With me, self-sabotage, because, like you said, like it's riddled. Self-sabotage is not just, and I want people, before I go into what I was about to say, self-sabotage does not only pertain to your job or tasks. Like, I think some people just think tasks of like chores and or work. And if you don't do it, that's like self-sabotage. But self-sabotage really expands into every facet of life, between vices and even thought patterns. Right. So with me and just the journey I've gone on in my life, and trigger warning for those who may find what I'm about to say sensitive, but for me it goes with like suicide. Like that to me was kind of like the ultimate self-sabotage, like just the contemplation of it, because I was literally in the way.
So hold that thought. Okay, so I'm glad you're going there. And again, this is Less Pressure Podcast, so you can go as far or as like not far as you want to, as long as you're comfortable. So thank you for sharing that. But that's a great point that, it could go here, it could go there, it could go back. Because when I think about self-sabotage, my immediate thought is like how you fuck up a relationship for yourself. Like that's when I think about self-sabotage, I'm thinking about like, oh, how have I, tried to do this weird thing where like I'm like I'll make up fake scenarios and be like, oh, that's not gonna work out, so let me just leave this alone. That's what it goes to me. So you said something about like, okay, so it goes into suicide. So can you walk me through or connect the dot for me from self-sabotage to what you like? Not, you don't have to say what you were self-sabotaging, but like what the sabotaging looks like.
Yeah. And I don't even have to go into the specifics of like my personal situation, but generally with like what I brought up, self-sabotage shows up in the me versus me versus the internal battle in which you have with yourself.
So would you say that's you versus your ego, or would
you versus your ego, you versus your mind, you versus your soul, like you
Oh.
versus like every fiber of your being, which leads to what could be that ultimate move, because when you're in that headspace of nothing you do is good enough for yourself, like you're prone to why'd you do that? It starts with the why'd you do that? Why'd you say that? Why are you walking like that? Why are you talking like that? Why are you like why do you perceive things that way? Why can't you do that? Like it's a lot of whys, hows. Like what are you gonna do? And it just is a overarching thing that surrounds your life.
So where does that come from?
Now you know. Now you know. With the faith background in which I come, this can go very deep, but which actually
no, because what I would say is, or like where my mind is going is like, all right, so you're saying like it's almost like it's similar to imposter syndrome, how where you kind of like would question everything about yourself. So that's kind of like what imposter syndrome is. It's kind of like feeling like a fraud, or feeling like it's that's what you're explaining is kind of like similar to that. So what I'm saying is like, where does the like questioning come from? Like why would the question be asked?
lack of self,
lack of
love,
oh.
And that's not lack of love is not. It can be external, but lack of love internally.
Yeah, I feel that.
Lack of just understanding of self. But with me, it always will go down to just kind of my faith. And
okay, so explain that. Like, explain what you mean by that.
With my faith in as a believer in Jesus Christ and sacrifice and all that, overarching, I learned that I can't do it on my own. I think personally, and what I've seen from experience, as a person that has almost taken myself out multiple times, you can try as hard as you can, but there is just, you can have the world and it still not be enough. You You can strive for everything. You can strive as hard as you want. You can try to follow the perceptions. You can try to follow just kind of where you feel. And I think a lot of culturally right now, it's a lot of based off feelings, which I've even learned that feelings are very much deceiving. They're gauges, but they're not resolute answers. I found that through my faith and my belief in Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit living inside me, like I have now come to a resolve in which there is that deeper love that surpasses me, that deeper goodness that is beyond.
That's like a higher love, right? Like
no. Shout out to Whitney Houston, Higher Love, but that's a good song.
I was gonna say I want to feel the heat with somebody. Nah. That's what I was going to. I don't know that song.
But no, but that's what I figured out, and even just like me wearing a whole Gyra shirt.
What is that?
Gyra, pretty much like the Lord our provider. Like he is enough to provide for every facet of our lives. Gotcha. And I have seen that in just many different forms, not just with myself, but with my family, even with you. Right. I have seen how just that grandeur thing
it's necessary for you.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
I say it's necessary for everybody, but it's necessary for me.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
But let's go back to.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to ask you a question. I kind of want to ask you if you can like kind of give an example, and I'll give one too, of a time where like you physically like can remember a self-sabotage like from within yourself. Like, can you give me like one, like just like an example of like a self-sabotage that you remember occurring to you?
Bro, it's an everyday thing.
This is an everyday
I want
thing.
people. I want everybody to realize that this self-sabotage thing is an everyday thing. If you, granted, I could be talking out of my butt right now, but everyone self-sabotages on a daily basis.
I don't know if I would agree.
I think everyone self-sabotages.
Well, you know what? You probably are right.
There are things that are okay.
Yeah.
The things that are good for you. Like it's you getting in the way of things that are for the betterment of yourself.
Okay, but I'll disagree with that one because I feel like there are some people out there that are so just in tune with what they want, and you know they've done the work and they've done like that. They've gone through their healing journey and they have a higher purpose and all that stuff. And like I think that maybe those people that are more confident would be like not self-sabotaging. But I know for myself, I don't know. I want to say I self-sabotage every day, but I self-sabotage often. I do think that I self-sabotage.
I guess we have to figure out. I guess it just depends on how we see it too. With me, self-sabotage is literally just me getting in the way of like things. Like,
okay, so give me an example.
So let's say I've been like Instacarting in between, like since I'm not currently on the show right now, I've been Instacarting for money. So when you're Instacarting, you're kind of making your own schedule,
right?
And so, with that being said, I'm on my own schedule. I'm at my own device, like at my own time. Yeah. So with me, it's like I have a goal. I'm trying to make at minimum $100 a day. So let's get up.
Right. Okay.
Get up. Start at 9 a.m. and make to the goal. It's 11 a.m. You're up. Why haven't you left? Why aren't you? You had your breakfast. Like you're ready to go. Why are you getting back in bed? Why aren't you, like, you have to make money. Why are you waiting? Why are you dilly-dallying? Yeah, you can go at your own point. Like, you can go at your own time and everything, but why are you waiting?
Right.
Like, it's a lot of that. It's like, it's the simple thing. It's like,
it's almost like, all right, well, I'm already late, so I'll just take my time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be late anyway, so I'm gonna just, I'm gonna get there when I get there.
I think, and that's why I feel like everyone self-sabotages, because I feel as though we, as human beings, are really good at shaping and reworking and finding synonyms and different connotations for things, that it's like, to me, and if you're making excuses, that's just an excuse is just another form, just another way of saying self-sabotage, because it's like, granted, there are valid excuses, but then those excuses of like, hey, like, another thing, like, call this person, try to network, or just reach out for, just have a conversation. 4 days later, have you had the phone conversation? No.
So how do you get out of that though? How does one get out of because the type of self-sabotage that I think that you're describing, it almost reminds me of procrastination.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of, like, I think the only word that I could really use for it is procrastination. So what comes from that? Like, so, all right, so say you're...
I'm looking up the definition for procrastination.
Yeah, look up the definition of procrastination. But, like, what does that get you, though? What would it get you? So let's say, okay, if you're putting off things that you have to do for a later time, what is it? What are you expecting to get from that, though?
Okay, I'm struggling spelling procrastination. Jesus.
Procra. I don't know the rest. Procrastination.
It is the act or habit of procrastinating or putting off or delaying, especially something requiring immediate action.
Love that. All right, so okay, go ahead.
Let's go to the word sabotage.
Okay, let's see.
Any underhand interference with production work.
Okay, Google.
Any underhand interference with production work, etc., in a plant, factory, etc., as by enemy agents during war. Oh my God.
Hey Google, stop talking. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, everybody.
Or just any undermining of a cause.
Why is she still talking?
I don't know. She really wants to talk to us. It says any undermining of a cause, but that's just like for the word sabotage. And then so any undermining of, like, yourself.
Right.
And if you want to go, we can look up the word undermining. Undermining. To undermine is the act or process of injury, attacking, or destroying something or someone indirectly or in imperceptibly degrees, often leading to a dramatic collapse.
I don't think I've ever done that one, though.
The act or process of weakening something or causing it to collapse.
Oh, you know, I definitely.
It's a lot of, like, war stuff. It says weakening something, someone, or someone gradually or indirectly.
Right.
So how I see it, and maybe the way I'm associating self-sabotage is kind of like in a dramatic way, but I do think just those little excuses we get, or just the little seeds in which we plant, like, continuously, that are kind of getting in the way of the necessary productivity of our lives, just ends up growing into such a major thing. So say, case in point, and I'll just give an example, and before you go, bills. So you be
self-sabotaging the bills. You be sabotaging the bills. Go ahead. I said not the bills.
I maybe. You sound like, you know how you on some bill, like you get the bill collectors that call, and they'll be like, "Hey, we're just checking on this and on this," and they'll call day one. They'll call day two. They'll call day three. You get used to it, and you're just like, I know these folks are gonna call me. I'm just gonna ignore it. I'll get it when I get to it.
I'll do that. I don't be doing that.
But there are some people. But like,
no, I definitely know what you mean.
there are people that's like, me included. There's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. But
why though?
Because you just don't have it. You either just don't have it, or you don't want to get to it, which is all.
What's the point? Like, what does that do? Like, what is the intention of that though? Like,
of the avoidance?
Yeah.
Lack of responsibility. Avoidance of responsibility.
So do you think that's the overall like arc that would need to be addressed? Is the like acknowledgement of responsibility and just the ownership?
Yeah.
Because I think that like from like what like I think that would be it. It's just like the acknowledgement of the responsibility.
Because responsibility, it's a big word, but it means so much. Like I'm blessed to have people in my life that can keep me accountable, and that I am now very transparent with and very open and honest with, that will keep it a buck.
Oh, so do you feel like you have a hard time like staying on top of like things that need to be,
bro?
For real?
Bro, I'll be vulnerable on your pod.
Okay, this is the place to do it though.
I'll be vulnerable on your pod. So I won't give it
go as far as you want.
But for real, I would say I'm like 2 weeks in of like legitimately owning up to like, you got to be responsible.
Really?
You got to grow up.
I don't take you as that type of person.
Well, when
I just wouldn't see you like. I think that I would look at you and be like, yo, he got his shit together.
I'm
like,
a special breed.
Like you seem very put together and like just very like on top of it.
Self-sabotage. You can be a really good self-sabotager. Like when you don't, people who self-sabotage can be very put together. It's all a map.
But now I think that
because you can self-sabotage in a way where.
Would you be comfortable with replacing the word self-sabotage with irresponsible?
Yeah. But irresponsibility can culminate to self-sabotage. And this is own like, will it be in its own way of like, so if you're irresponsible and
you're gonna self-sabotage.
If you're irresponsible and really like understanding yourself and loving yourself, or just making sure that you're not attacking yourself in such a way where you aren't your own advocate, that's self-sabotage. Because if you can't look in the mirror dead on and say like, hey, like you look good, or just look at yourself. Because I've struggled with that, where it's like I can't even look at myself in the mirror.
Okay. So follow up for like in regards to the responsibility aspect of self-sabotage. Now I know that for myself, I'm a super responsible person, but that is only a product of me feeling like I'm in a fight or flight like mindset, where like I'm in the mindset of thinking like, okay, if I don't take care of this, I'm fucked. Nobody's gonna like do it for me. Would you say that you've been able to have people not take care of you, but like look out for you in a sense when it comes to like certain responsibilities, or like, or like you're able to get comfortable with some things?
Yeah. I was very much. I'm a middle child, so I don't know what that do with that with whatever you may. But with me, I and I'm still processing this go to therapy.
We
Processing
love
in
therapy on
therapy.
this podcast.
Even in like spiritually, I'm processing it because just dynamically, I think it is interesting being the middle child, being the second boy, and in the set of four. Um, so with me, what I've seen is because like you have the older two and you have the younger two. Like there's
In your family.
yeah, in my family. So there is that dynamic in which
And you're the second to last? So you're
I'm the
third.
second. I'm the third.
Okay, out of four.
So with me, there's like a gap in between me. Like there's 5 years.
So you and LJ?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm 24. LJ's 29. Revert. Go all
LJ
the way.
getting up there. Boy, no, I'm just
Go all the way. Go all the way. Like back as a kid, there was always someone older than me that kind of took the brunt of a lot of things, or like responsibilities, and just and not to say I was coddled, but I just always had someone that
get somebody else to do
that
it.
could help.
Get somebody else.
And it kind of took a lot of wake up calls and a lot of like when you're in that position of just I don't want to use the word comfortability, but I guess comfortability of just habitually having someone before you can even think about it. It's already being handled.
And that's a tough one because it's like, how do you avoid being in that situation? Because it's like you want to look out for people, right? But then at the same time, you don't want them to be like the way that I am and be like fight or flight, or like you got to figure everything out like that, So what is the in between of like helping, but then also allowing room for that person to be able to pick up some of the like awareness that like things need to be just like handled and stuff like that.
Well, that's where it goes into responsibility. Like at a certain point, you get to the fact where you are seeing things, or in my case, I'm just going to speak from my perspective. I got to a point where I was aware of a lot of things.
Like what?
Like I can sit down and literally be aware of like majority of like this is what happened because of this happened. This is the reason why this happened. Things are moving in this way because of this way. Yet those are all just in your head.
That is so vague. What does that even mean?
It's I don't know how to. Me and my friend had a conversation about this because we feel like I was able to recognize things happening. Now I'm not saying like I can see the future,
Right.
but no. But I was just very self-aware of my movements because I guess that's because I'm middle child and I was just alone with my thoughts and just in my feelings towards things and seeing patterns, and so I could decipher like okay, my brother is taking over said bill,
Right.
and I am not in charge of that bill because I am 5 years younger. And even though that I am working this job, like years back, like I got to focus on me.
Okay, so now
I'm not. I am only. You only factor in that person's taking care of it, and that's it, but not focusing in on the fact that maybe you should pitch in.
So question is, Okay, so because you and your brother are like next to each other when it comes to like the family line. So it's your sister, your brother, then you, then your younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be like, did you think that you were like, okay, well, I got 5 years until that's my life, or that's
Mm-mm.
something that I have to take responsibility for? Like, did you really like that, or
No, I think with me, I think that was not to say that that never came up in my head. I think for me, how I saw it was I'm seen as the baby.
mm-hmm,
I'm not the baby, but I'm the baby boy.
mm-hmm,
And even just how like family like treats you, like I don't even think I really was a factor in much of those things. Even like kind of to this day, which is it's changing because I'm getting like I'm about to be 25,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like having to assert myself, and I'm also when you ride that baby train, it has unless you're very content with it, which is damaging and going to cause arrested development, which you should research. That's his own thing. Um, I found that like I couldn't do it anymore. Like I can't really ride that
The baby boy.
the baby train anymore. I
So
think
when does one
time.
not be the baby anymore? When does one decide? Because the way that I look
Well,
at it, I'm like,
I didn't choose to get off this train. The train came to a crashing halt. I think yeah, I just think how life changed, and
are you having one of those moments where you're like, whoa, this is real life? Like, are you
oh
having one
yeah,
of those?
I'm always having the whoa, this is real life. I think
Wow,
everybody's
really?
always going to have a whoa, this is real life, and
Well, not necessarily, because
I
I'm not.
as you grow up, okay, I guess
You're gonna get them at.
like
You're gonna get them
I
at
guess
one
like
point.
that initial whoa,
Yeah.
this is new, real life. I feel like has been expanded, at least in my, at least in terms of me, for the past since 2017.
Since 2017.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think life, at least with me and how I've seen how my life has gone, um, like losing my mom, having a lot of like crushing things happen, like processing, healing from like,
So it was a real wake up call. It was a real like everything came at you at once.
yeah, I think when you put your whole life in a person
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that person is gone,
Mm-hmm.
literally, I had to. I sat with this in therapy. I put everything, my encouragements, my sense of self, my faith, my sense in family, all of it in one person.
Mm.
And that person is 6 feet under now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean everything about me is 6 feet under? No, because I'm still here.
Because you, like you said, you have self. You just have to have the awareness and be in tune with yourself.
But even that, I can even acknowledge was self-sabotage.
Say it again.
Me putting everything into one person was self-sabotage. You want to know why?
Unintentional.
Because unintentional and intentional. There's two truths.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw, as a kid, being seen as the shy crybaby. Just to get a bug. Like, I cried a lot. I was scared of a lot of things. I was nervous a lot. Being around people to this day still is nerve-wracking, but I've learned to adjust. But I ran to one person.
Right.
And that one person would run to God. But that one person was always the most accessible person was my mom.
So what's really important to me is I think this is personally what I think is like is healing that inner child within yourself. So I know that you've probably been working on doing that, but like, how far along are you with that, or if you've even started?
How far along am I into healing the inner child?
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming along. I think I've done a lot more work than I give myself credit. I think I am now coming to.
Because it's a process. Like,
it's a process. I think it's a lifelong journey of healing.
Oh yeah.
I think it's not gonna. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna finish it at 25 and for the rest of my life. No,
that's
I think
unrealistic.
I think little by little, you just start realizing.
Because you'll start healing, and then like you think you got it all done, and then you'll go through life, and something comes up, and you're like,
Granted,
oh wait, was that a trauma response, or was that a response to like how I was, you know?
I'm barely scratching the surface, realistically, and I'm okay. And I'm okay with that. I think right now I am coming to a terms of don't run away from that little child.
Don't run away from him.
Don't run away from. Yeah, don't push him aside. Don't.
What do you mean by that?
You can avoid that little child. Like, you can be embarrassed at that little child. I feel like and I say that because there are a lot of people that are like, when they look back at, say, their 11-year-old self and look at videos or photos, like, ooh, that's cringe. That's a little seed. To me, that's a little seed of you're not coming to terms with that little child, with who that child was. Because 11-year-olds are cringy.
Yeah, well,
hug that kid.
Yeah,
appreciate that kid. Because without that kid being cringy, you would not be you. Right. Currently. So
I like to laugh at that though.
Yeah, but most people can laugh. Most people will laugh without it having that initial like heart.
Oh, that hurt with it too.
Because if you laugh and have hurt in your heart towards it, it's like you're not really doing much.
Because, you know, don't you know how they say like, okay, like, look at that picture of your younger self and like give that person, or like, don't say bad things to yourself because you're saying bad things to this person, right? But if you didn't like that person to begin with, then it won't matter. You'd have to care about that child, you know. And I get a lot of people telling me this. Well, you know,
can you just come to an understanding of that person?
What you mean, like the child? Well, it's you. Like you, there's no way you can't understand yourself. Like I don't know, maybe it is, but I just think that children are the most like purest, like untouched. I feel like everything that we are now it has a lot to do with societal conditioning. It has a lot to do with like teachings and just the world putting different things into us. And we're a product of our environments. We're a product of what we've learned. We're a product of like who we surround ourselves with. We're a product of what we listen to, what we watch, all those things. And if you just want to go back in time, like your most purest form is when you were an infant baby. And although you're not you're kind of far from that as like an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old, but like you still haven't had all that conditioning that a 25-year-old has. So you're a more pure form of yourself. You're more natural. And that's why I think that I don't believe that there is actual adults. I think that is all just BS that like people want to like say, because that's why they turn 20, right? And they start getting depressed. They get anxious. They get like, oh, they have all this pressure on them, right? It's because being an adult is not necessarily a real thing, you know? Technically, you're an adult the way I look at it, okay, you turn 14, 15, you hit puberty or whatever, that's when your body says, okay, you're in adult form, quote unquote. You know, you've reached a quote unquote adult form, you know? Everything past that is just like societal, like standards or whatever, you know, you consider to be an adult. If you pay your own bills, if you went to college or whatever. But to me, I just think that everybody truly is just a child. Everybody is just that little tiny kid that once was, you know, when you were 5, 6, 7, you know, you're that. And the more you run away from that, the more you run away from yourself. That's just the way that I look at it. That's me. You know.
Well, we're all children of God, so I just had to. I'm gonna.
I
I'm always gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know, my mama and my dad, and like my faith did not just come from my mom; it comes from my dad. And you know, the Johnsons
I know.
as a whole. But I hear you. I think adult going just adding and on to what you just said. I think I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're going to is like we're children with just more responsibilities.
Facts.
With responsibilities that
with responsibilities and pressure.
And pressure. Yet you can't let that go too far though, because
why is that?
A 30-year-old should not be acting the same way as an 11-year-old.
In what case? Well, then again, a 30-year-old is also, they've learned more.
Yeah. So with that,
so they just have more knowledge naturally. So
yeah,
they know better. You know. So you know better. You do better. You know.
But there are certain things where it's just granted. And
but why not? I think it should be fine though. I think if a 30-year-old wants to go outside with their friends and play tag, that should be fine.
But you're talking about it in like fun activities. You're not seeing it's me personally. I'm not. You're not seeing no 30-year-old being put in a baby Bjorn, being in a like stroller, being pushed around.
But that's the strollers. Those they only put kids in strollers because they physically can't keep up with walking.
Yeah, but
so if literally, I was being pushed around in a wheelchair not too long ago. Is that not a stroller for adults? That's a stroller. It's the same thing, Corey. It's the exact same thing. I think that the best, like, I would just love to see a lot less, like, I hate this adult behavior that we've created because I don't know. I think that when I turned like 19, 20, I started playing adult. You know how like kids play dress up and shit like that, or people play. I feel like I started playing that, but in real life. So like kids go out and they pretend to drive cars. I was still getting that same feeling from having my first car, but it was real because it was an actual car. The feeling was, okay, I'm an adult, so I get a car now. You know, oh, this is fun because I'm an adult. It was that for me.
So couldn't you just take a step back from kind of that point and just bring it towards you're pushing against a rigid behavior and kind of viewpoint? Because you can be an adult with a childlike essence. There are plenty of adults. There are plenty of adults that hold themselves as adults.
Yeah,
but are very like we were just talking about like Kevin Fredericks, like Kev on stage.
I love Kev on stage.
Is an adult man, an adult black man, but it's just very lively, very joyful. Like, and I think that's just him moving in just the fruits of the spirit, but also just the fullness of himself, understanding.
Life ain't so serious. You gotta be so serious.
He is a man of God. I just, but life ain't so serious. And just getting out of the way of you and just what people are perceiving you to be, or what people may want you to be. I think that's what I'm kind of gauging off of what you're saying, because
I think that I do my best to be the adult that I have to be to survive in this world. But at heart, I'm just a kid, man. I'm gonna just be real with you. Everything that I do has to be from a place of just like enjoyment, fun, like happiness. That childlike spirit is so like unique and it's so precious. And to take that away from a person, it takes away their like creativity, takes away their like what?
I don't think you can take it away. I just think you can forsake it. I don't think anyone. Oh, maybe speaking from, I'm only speaking from personally. I don't think people can take away anyone's childlike essence.
No.
I just, oh, I think it's what you choose to hold on to. Like with me, I'm resonating with what you're saying because it's like I can come off like put together and stuff, but internally I'm like I'm bouncing around and like, oh my god, like granted,
you
anime.
feel like people have taken that away from you?
What?
You feel like people have taken that away from you?
I
That
think
joyfulness.
I think situations can make you forsake it because you feel like you can't be that in certain situations. Yet,
Place.
yeah, I still find it show up when I'm at concerts, when I'm like even in my alone time now, just like laughing with myself and like laughing at some of the funny thoughts I have, and or just like when I watch certain things, like specific things like anime or just like cartoons, just to kind of really tap into kind of that whimsy. I never lost it. I just put it, compartmentalized it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm happy you didn't lose it, because that's no fun.
There's no fun. You can tell someone that intentionally is fighting their childlike selves. I always tell people, like, I like to dance. I'm not a choreographer like you, but I like to dance, and like when I'm dancing, it's just me and the music, and I'm just having fun. And don't get in my way. Don't try to flirt with me, because I don't care. I came to dance. And I'll look at someone like, I came to dance. Leave me alone. Unless you're dancing with me, move aside. Sometimes no, because
it makes you feel good.
Because that got really. I just realized that was very serious. But yes, because I've seen it on the dance floors of the people that are just stiff. Granted, there are stiff people, and no shade to the stiff people on the dance floor, but there are just like, when you're really tapped into that kid wonder, there are some no holds barred. Like, kids can go a mile a minute. They don't care. They're not really thinking too much. They're just blah. Like, and they will go blah in your face, and you're just like, oh, okay. You're in it. And that's why I always commend those people who are just able to just tap in for that moment in which
tap in.
Okay. Just to recognizing, like, this is how I move. This is how my body moves. This is what
feels good.
Do what feels
literally
good.
Like, that's literally, and I told you this before, like with dance and stuff like that, when like the people that, like, you know, that do more like grooves and stuff, I feel like they're having a better time when they're dancing, because you can feel it more. You know, that's just the way that I personally look at it.
But that taps in. But I'm primarily speaking from like the dancing perspective, because I have my own opinions about do what feels good.
What's your opinion on do what? You don't like people that do it good, feel good? Oh, you mean like as far as like temptation or things that are not good for you?
Yeah, I was about to say, not everything that feels good is good for you. Because
would I agree?
Like, we can even just do it in terms of drugs.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about.
Like you can just, yeah.
Because
there's just
personally, yeah, you're right.
Like and that's what and I'm. Because I don't want.
You gotta know your.
You gotta know your limits. Because even with like the dancing thing, like I I know my limits of, and I'm going to bring it back to the self-sabotage. Haha. Because how I knew that I was self-sabotaging during my stint of fun with me going to like clubs and dancing. Well, I'll go to a club, but I knew I was self-sabotaging because self-sabotaging by escapism. Escaping on the dance floor.
That's what everybody is at the club for. Everybody's at the club to escape, to have a good time.
But when you're continuously going to the club.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, when you, and that's how I say it, I am self-aware.
Just life is about balance.
I can tell myself, like, yeah, I wish I can go, I want to go dancing. I want to just, dance till my feet hurt.
Right.
But I also know I'm intentionally going because I just want to be in a loud room because I can't be alone with myself.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, and there's some, you can do that once an occasion, but when you're doing that every weekend without really sitting down with yourself,
right,
or being able to sit down with yourself, or even talk to someone about it.
That's where I can't, because naturally I want to be like, that's where the self-awareness comes in. Because I know for myself, whenever I got to that point where I was going out for a reason to like avoid life or something like that, when I got to that point, I would sit down at the bar with my friend and say, I'm not coming back here ever again, because I feel like I'm here to like, I'm every time something happens, I'm here, and I would eventually catch myself and kind of check myself. And I think that self-awareness is very important. When it's like, you have to know when you're using vices. You have to know when you're being avoidant. You have to know when you're doing things to, cope, Because I think that certain things can be good, but in moderation. You have to have balance with everything. Too much of anything is not good.
Also, because I feel like Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's telling me to say this because this is something that I literally had to come to grips with. I love my self-awareness. I do. It helps me. However, because, and I'm just going to precursor this just so you're not looking at me like I'm crazy.
Oh, go ahead. This is Less Pressure Podcast. This is
still
a judgment-free zone.
And I'm going to grow out of the whole having to precursor for things. But for me, what I recognized was this, at least via my faith in God. If I am calling him Lord, that means his ways are better than my ways. He knows better. If I call him the creator, created this world, created you, me, knows me more than I know myself, that means that even I can deceive myself. Even myself can get in the way of me. That doesn't mean that So with that being said, my self-awareness I was using that as self-sabotage. You want to know why? Because I use it as a vehicle to just continuously have conversations and never do actions. So,
yeah, I can see that.
And there's a lot of people. Well, I'm just gonna talk about. There's a lot of I've seen it in a lot of people, but I guess I'm able to recognize it now because when that happened and when it was brought up to me by.
So what you mean? You be so self-aware that you be using conversations to avoid stuff. What do you mean by that?
Okay, let's do this.
Give me an example.
I'm gonna play it out.
Real specific.
I'm going to play it out. I'm really struggling with making money to keep these bills. All right, go like hustle, like just like do what you gotta do. Okay, week passes.
Right.
Person checks in. How you doing? Like, are you able to keep up? Yeah, I'm doing it like very sporadically, but like. I'm not able to get out of bed. Like I see that like I'm just all in my head and how I am just not really in it and like circumstances are just really making me like not want to get out of bed, so I'm just procrastinating to get out of bed. And so that's why I didn't start like Instacarting until like 5 p.m. to like 9, and I was only able to make like $40 when I was supposed to make $100, when that was my goal of making $100. And yeah, I'm gonna try it again tomorrow, and same thing happens. I'm aware, and I see the pattern.
Seems like
I
you're
see
doing
the
it on
pattern.
purpose.
I see. Oh yes, I was doing it on purpose. I was,
because you gotta, to be like self-employed, you gotta have discipline. That's a discipline. Like, you gotta be like, okay, so if I don't get this done, like, that's it. Like, I'm losing something because of this.
Yeah.
So it's literally like the same way when you go out of your way when you have to work for somebody else. You gotta give yourself that same kind of respect. Like, you're your own boss, so respect yourself the same way you respect that other boss.
Yes. But I got so drunk on my self-awareness to say feelings, and
that don't even sound like.
Granted,
it sounds like you were like playing like the pity party on yourself to try to like, oh well, if I feel bad for myself,
I was using my self-awareness as a vehicle to justify my pity,
right?
Pity party.
Because I think that being in tune with how you're feeling and your emotions is totally great. I think it's a good thing, but I feel like when you start to be like, oh, life sucks, and I'm the only person that has to do.
You start to manipulate the situations to put you back in that cycle.
Yeah, it's just
so that's and that was kind of what I said. It can also be a vehicle, like a weapon against you, because it can, if you're not really keeping yourself accountable like you should, like how I was. And I say that in past tense. I'm not still currently doing that, and
you will,
and I will continue to do that. So people aren't thinking I'm a bum. But even if they do,
too late. No,
but even if they are, I don't care because I know what God says I am. But yeah, I just that's how I saw it being abused, at least in my case. And I had to be like, okay, you see that man in the mirror? Hi me.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
I was not thinking that. I was very much so like, grow up. I love you. You can do this.
Out of love.
But grow up.
Yes.
And so that's what helped me get out of my self-sabotage. And what helps me get out of my self-sabotage, that is like, just be responsible. Like, be like, don't be like, no one gets far in life without being responsible.
Facts.
My faith definitely helps me too, in the sense of, there's literally scriptures about being responsible. Like, a man that does not work does not eat. That is literally scripture. So you have to literally, like, you have to work for every single thing.
Dope.
Like, and that's not in just like the sense of like working that job to eat food. You can translate that into you're not eating a person, but like, if you're not working towards like even relationships, how are you gonna reap the benefits of like that relationship if you're not putting in the work? That means the good and the bad. You gotta go put in the work to reap the benefits of, say, the friendships that you really want, that are deep and profound, with the family members that are deep and profound. Because on my end, how I've seen self-sabotage work is, I see it in a lot of things, and I can get very down and out about that. But then with my new perspective, with my new mindset, I see how I'm like, okay, I got to put in the work. If you see that, oh, I don't talk to these cousins like how it was like say in the past, like between you and me. Like I was around, but I was still quiet because I was just like I don't know, like and I kind of put myself in that position of being that quiet cousin, and it was easy just to disengage instead of to engage, versus now having a profound relationship and where I'm like, I encourage you, I check in, I show up when I show up. Like it doesn't have to be 100% every single day, because that's how you hit burnout, and that's how you end up in a situation where you're just kind of like overexerting yourself and not giving yourself the proper pace in what you need. When you need to push. When you need to lean back, stay back. But just that consistency of like pushing towards those things and understanding that life is a marathon, not a sprint. So one day, that seed of you sowing into like showing up to your cousin's thing and then showing it up to another thing, and 5 years down the line, now y'all as cool as can be because you were showing up and you were putting attention to it. That's how you do it. Like that's why we have memories, to see how far you've come from things, because I can see like, oh, I wasn't really talking as much, or I didn't like, or at least from my memories, I really wasn't a talkative cousin. I wasn't really an active cousin. Yet I recognized that, and I'm like, I ain't got nothing against y'all. I don't know what. I want to have a closer connection.
No, just
but it would be easy to just slap fake, but also it's like it's how you show up. Like with me, I'm like, I'm just gonna show up in whatever capacity and interact and find find similarities and
look what happened. You had a lot more in common.
Oh yeah, I was very surprised.
Surprised.
I was very surprised. But
surprised.
I was surprised. I was like, they like these niggas like art. Yeah. They like
what you think? What you think?
That was. I healed.
I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. He said they like art. Everybody likes art.
Not everybody likes art.
Everybody likes art. Everybody likes art. To some extent, we all.
There are people that don't like music.
I don't like those people. But we should wrap this up. This is
long.
This is the longest episode I've ever done. And
golly,
time editing.
I apologize for the editing process.
No, this is what we want. We want longer episodes. This is what the people want. They want longer episodes. But before we end, do you have any final thoughts? A gem.
God loves you. You can make it. You are stronger than what you think you are. And yeah, keep going. I think don't lose sight of the joy of how I think I can go farther. I think I can do this. I think that's something that I'm tapping back into. Of like have fun with yourself. Not in
have fun with yourself.
Not in the explicit version.
But that too though. Have fun with yourself.
Not that, but
have a little
like
fun.
Challenge yourself. Like make the challenges like fun. I see sometimes what helps me is I just treat my day like I'm a character in an anime episode. And I'm like, I'm going to I'm gonna go Super Saiyan and take out this grocery shopping.
Mm. That was a beautiful analogy. Well, Lyndal, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
I'm so happy you called me Lyndal.
I can call you Corey too if you want me to. I mean, that's up to you. They're both great names.
Well, they're both part of my legal name.
Very true. So I mean, but hey, what you want to be called is what you want to be called. I'll call you what you want to be called. But I do appreciate you coming here. We're gonna do this again, obviously, and you already know we gonna.
You gonna have me back?
Or don't come back. He's like, you want me? Yeah.
You want me back? I'll come back.
Season 2, just come on by.
Okay, whenever you want me.
Of course, we're gonna do this a million times.
Okay.
But also, do you have any social media that you want to plug or anything you want to plug for the audience?
I can't even tell you my social medias because I deleted them.
Well, there's that. Well, you guys can follow me at Ron_Amos_ on Instagram. All that is linked in the description. And if you have anything,
when I come back, I'll slide in there. I'll put it
a little
out there.
social media handle.
I'm on a cleanse, so
Okay. Well, I did a cleanse too. So not now, but I did one. But yeah. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast. If you made it this far, we love you.
Good job.
Thank you so much. We're coming. Well, I'll be back next week with another episode. Take care of yourself, love yourself, and like Lyndal said, have fun with yourself.
Stop.
All right. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.